everyone. Welcome to the October 28th, the almost Halloween meeting for the Wenatchee School District. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yep. Oh, believe me, like you should have seen me when I had to have get all the silver off my face. All right. Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción. Si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor indique su necesidad. We'll now work through the agenda. Board, are there any proposed changes or modifications to the agenda? All right, hearing none, I'll move on to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had the opportunity to review the materials and ask the superintendent any questions they have about any items on the consent agenda. The consent agenda for this meeting includes the minutes for the 10/14/25 regular meeting, the 10/20/25 workshop, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, surplus report, contracts, field trips, September-October enrollment report. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second that motion.
All right, it has been moved by Julie and seconded by Martin. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So now I will send it to my doppelganger for bright spots.
Sounds great, President Jackson. All right. We slated for today, our bright spots are the ASB updates, and I was just informed by Mrs. Devereaux that our ASB representative from Westside is ill today. So we won't be, I don't think we'll be having a Westside share, but we do have Wenatchee High School here in the house, ready to take care of business. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello everyone, my name is and I am the ASB president for Wenatchee High School. This past month was an exciting and busy one as we celebrated our homecoming traditions. Our ASB students worked incredibly hard to make sure all of our events ran safely, smoothly, and most importantly, that everyone had fun. Okay, so throughout October, we held one homeroom representative meeting, 4 team leader meetings, and 4 Senate meetings to ensure all student voices were heard and that we stayed up to date with everything happening around our school. To increase breast cancer awareness, our spirit coordinators collected donations during our homecoming football game. We're proud to share that all funds raised will go directly to Wellness Place, a local organization that provides support to individuals and families affected by cancer. We also hosted a variety of lunch activities that help boost school spirit and build community, including cookie decorating, Kahoot games, and a cakewalk, which were all a big hit among students. Our homecoming week sport competitions were another highlight, like girls flag football, boys volleyball, and co-ed soccer, which gave students a chance to form teams, get competitive, and show off their Panther pride in a fun and friendly way. Finally, our homecoming dance was a huge success, with over 800 students attending. We've already received tons of positive feedback. Some students even said it was the best school dance they've been to. Overall, this month has truly showed what Wenatchee High School is all about: community, spirit, and teamwork. I'm so proud of what we've accomplished so far, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the year brings. I want to take a moment to thank our ASB members, advisors, and students who continue to make our school such an amazing place to be. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
What was your favorite part of the homecoming activities?
Honestly, just seeing it all come together. We started decorating about 2 days before, so it was a lot of hard work, and our theme was Alice in Wonderland, so it was super fun to decorate right now.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on to citizen comment. If any member of the public would like to make a citizen comment, please sign up online 15 minutes before the meeting or complete a citizen comment form. Forms are available here at the room entrance and should be turned into the board secretary, Kim White. English and Spanish speakers will be allowed 3 minutes of comment time with additional time allowed for translation. Ms. White will keep a timer that will notify you when your time expires. Please be aware that the board's role is to receive comments. They will not respond to questions or challenges, and the board silence does not signal agreement or endorsement of the speaker's remarks. All right.
First up is Heidi Neese.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Neese and I am a parent at Lincoln Elementary. When I come to work, I am responsible for 3 medically fragile children. I am also responsible for 3 highly autistic and nonverbal children who bite, scratch, and pull hair regularly. What that also entails is diaper changes, tube feedings, seizure observation, and control with rescue medications, making sure feeding pumps are at the prescribed rate and dose. In addition to this task, we are instructed to teach each child to their ability. Bringing it closer to home, we're talking about our salaries. You would think that you would get paid more than what we do. In addition to our own personal responsibilities, there is no nurse at Lincoln Elementary, so we are held to a higher standard of care for the children that are in our classroom. Patty Diaz is also held to a higher standard as she is the point person in the office to coordinate if anything happens to these children in our classroom, along with her daily activities and responsibilities. This is huge. I would think that as an administration, you would want to have your staff compensated appropriately for the responsibility of these children. We aren't the only ones at Lincoln that have special needs in our special needs kids in their classroom. As others have said prior to me in previous meetings, some of us have second jobs, and unfortunately, you can imagine that we are tired. We do not have the daily experiences, you do not have the daily experiences that we have as pairs, secretaries in our classroom and school. However, if you did, you would see that it is tough. You would think that you would want your staff clear-headed and rested, not coming off of a second or potentially a third shift to make ends meet. I urge you to look further into our contract, and we as a union invite you to come back to the table for negotiations. Thank you.
Chris Rewald.
Good evening. My name is Chris Rewald, and I work here at the district office downstairs in special programs. Many of us were here at the last board meeting, speaking our voice regarding compensation for our classification staff. And we're here again tonight because classified staff here at Wenatchee School District still does not have an agreed upon contract for our 25-26 academic year. I'm also here to represent and support my fellow classified employees. This year, the classified staff has been holding strong during negotiations and not settling for the offer that we usually settle on. Yes, we are a large group. Classified staff are made up of secretaries, office managers, family advocates, paras, etc. We work hard and are essential for supporting school operations and student success. There are members of the cabinet actually who have been in the classified group before and know the struggles we face and the unfair compensation. There is a significant retention issue regarding paras and sped paras, primarily due to low pay. High turnover increases costs and compromises effectiveness. Everyone's life is better with better improved retention, and this results in a more efficient and effective operation. We just want things to be fairer. Classified staff play vital roles in supporting student learning, well-being, and a safe environment, and should be compensated as such. At one of our last bargaining sessions, Kelly had said that she would need to take this to the board. Well, here we all are, coming before you, the board, to please talk with members of the cabinet regarding our proposal. We understand the budget crisis and have been very patient the last few years. We feel it is our time, and also we had the levy pass, which is in our favor. The best policy for all is to have reasonable wages that promote a good quality and stable workforce. Thank you for listening.
Tara Shuttleworth.
Hi, I'm new to the area. I'm a substitute teacher for the school district, and I am coming to you with questions, so I think I'm gonna have to get some business cards. But my issue is the fact that I started teaching in September and I don't get my first paycheck till October 31st. So that's 2 months of no pay, which, wow, really challenging, especially being somebody who loves to teach, and I know we need substitute teachers in the area, but I'm having to pick up odd-end jobs right now, and being somebody who a district trusts to teach when a teacher isn't there, it's very challenging. I thought that, okay, I wait 2 months and then I'm gonna get my check for September and October, but I'm not. I'm getting only my check for September, and I'm gonna have to wait another 4 weeks to receive my check in October, and that's just the way it's set up. I'm told that that's legal, of course it is, but I mean, how are we gonna bring in more substitute teachers that we so desperately need when we're not getting paid in a way where we can live comfortably? And then another thing I wanted to bring up is, in addition to being a substitute teacher, I'm an event producer. I've been a program manager and event producer since 2011. I specialize in putting on after-school programming, and so I'm reaching out. I know that I can rent out spaces within the school district, and so I was talking to the assistant principal over at Foothills today about renting out the cafeteria for something with the teens. And right now, we have a no-compete clause with the city for teen spaces, which to me is baffling because we need things to do for our kids, especially we got 3 days off for parent-teacher conferences. How great would it be to get an event producer in that specializes in programming for kids to put something on, you know, in a school space, but we have a no-compete clause. So I'm needing some contact information on who to talk to about the clause, in addition to if there is a union for our substitute teachers, or who I can talk to about maybe changing the way our substitute teachers get paid. Thank you.
Amy Wilbright.
I wanted to thank you for your time this evening and allowing me to speak. These are my facts and my truths. I have been kicked, bitten, spit on, and cursed at, pushed to my breaking point more times than I can count on both hands. And every time I come back to work the very next day with the same level of love, respect, and compassion to the very student, or at times students, who had done this to me the day before. I hope that I'm the type of employee that you want to have help shape and mold our students, to teach them and to care for them. Our only request is that you don't just see us as numbers on your spreadsheet, but listen to the words that we are so desperately trying to tell you. We are not making enough money to pay our bills. We are not making enough to take care of our families at home while we give everything we have to our students every day. I'm gonna say the thing that so many of us are thinking, but are afraid to say out loud, that Eastmont and other schools in our Great Valley have found a way to pay their paras a reasonable and fair living wage. When is it our turn? When will our district finally follow their lead? Please know that we will provide and continue to provide the highest level of care, compassion, and education to our students, because we are paraprofessionals, and that is what we do, but they are our students, and they are why we are here. Thank you for your time.
Carmela Carmela Solorio.
Thank you so much. My name is Carmela Solorio, and I do work for the Wenatchee School District for the McKinney-Vento program. I am one of the McKinney-Vento liaisons, and this is yesterday it was my anniversary, 17 years in the Wenatchee School District. So last time we were here to ask for support for a reasonable agreement on our contract. And now we're back again because we had a union meeting and the board said we are not in favor of what we're getting at the moment. So now we're back to bring it to you guys because we're needing your support. Just by listening to my coworkers, it makes me want to cry. So it's very important that we get listened to, and that's why we're here. So we already know that some other classified staff already received, like some teachers got their contract, bus drivers got their contract, and we just want to make, I probably print out for each of you guys so you guys can actually see the contract and then some other information that I think is very important in making the decision on our contract because we still don't have a contract. So, pass them out. Guys. Thank you. And I just made an Excel sheet and just for you guys to get a more of a visual graphic of what other people have and that they have been approved already and that we just want to get an equal opportunity for our classified staff as well. And that's pretty much what I have. And we are just here to talk about what we're expressing ourselves and what we're needing.
All right, that's it. So I'll turn it over to, well, this is the special presentations time. This is usually also the all right, we're done. But thank you all for coming. And we'd love it if you stayed, but if you want, you can leave. And Corey, special presentations.
Yes. Thank you. We can offer a little moment of we can offer a moment of transition as people begin to get on with the rest of their evenings. Thanks for coming, everyone.
I forgot to ask, is there any way a board member can go to the negotiation because they're gonna have another meeting tomorrow?
Another meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, to finalize to say either they approve it or deny it, and I will feel comfortable if Maria or Martin.
Oh, it's your association's chance to vote on.
We already voted twice, and the vote came out to say no. We still don't agree with that, and I think it's pretty reasonable what we're asking for. But I would really appreciate it if Maria can, or any one of you guys can take a look at our contract and just kind of be part of it, if it's still possible. I don't know.
Kelly, is it a bargaining negotiation meeting tomorrow? No. Okay. Then yes, they can be part of
The three parents?
a conversation.
Oh, okay. I will appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The board cannot bargain drive. No, we can't. Yeah, so what you leave it here. There's no meeting on it.
Correct. There's no meeting though tomorrow, right?
No. Oh, there's no meeting.
If there's a Thanks, everyone. Okay, next up we have Safety and Security Update. Please welcome Director of Safety and Security, Tom Huey, to share with us updates to safety and security that comes from Alyssa's laws and how the Wenatchee School District has accomplished these updates over the past many years. Thanks, Tom.
Good evening.
Appreciate you being here.
Am I on? Okay. I wanted to start out talking about safety and security this evening.
We're working on it.
Okay, so we're working on it. We're really talking about the bank. there's a lot of similarities between a school and a bank. They both have a lot of security in place, cameras, locks, those kinds of things. And we have a lot of the same challenges. In the early days of banks, their safety issues were fire. And it was the same way really with the schools. And then eventually with banks, they transitioned to having issues with violence. You think about Bonnie and Clyde, Al Capone, Dillinger, those kind of things. Those were really the shocking, violent events of their day, much like school shootings are today. So the banks had to figure out a way to deal with that. They're still dealing with that today. And as they dealt with fire, they updated their buildings. They started to clad the interior of the buildings in marble. They began to build fireproof vaults. They did a lot of different things to try to mitigate the risk of fire. School districts also, in the early days, dealt with fire, and we did a lot of things. We installed sprinkler systems, we installed alarms, we started doing evacuation drills, and eventually all of those systems working together created a much safer environment to, we don't really have any issues with fire in schools anymore. Today the issue is mass shootings and safety. So just as we found a solution in many, many things with fire, we'll find a similar solution to these things. And the physical solutions are kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight. But there's also a whole other side of the coin, and that really goes to the heart of the district, and that's the people who work with us here. We know that those relationships and that sense of community is the single most important thing in keeping our schools safe.
It's fine.
Okay. So Alyssa's Law is named for a student who was unfortunately killed in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting that happened in 2018. And after that shooting, there was a lot of emphasis on school safety, and so the Wenatchee School District sort of rolled up their sleeves and got to work. And they started out with having a board listening session in the Commons at the high school. A lot of community members came and spoke. That happened in March. And then by the summer, we did a pretty good-sized upgrade to our radio system. We invested $100,000 into our radio system, and that's still giving dividend today. We've added to that over the years significantly, but that work that was done back then has made a big difference. By February of 2019, we updated the camera system at the high school. We added 50 new cameras all at once at the high school, and that put us up significantly there. And then by March 26th of 2019, we embarked on a $2.2 million upgrade to the physical security of the school districts. And that's when we added the lobby, or the lobby at the high school. We added fencing around the playgrounds and around the portables. We added video and audio systems so that people could walk into the vestibule of our schools and contact the office before they're admitted to the school. We added 4 new PA systems to school, and we updated 5 of our fire alarm systems. Alyssa's law really addresses these 5 things. Alert buttons, live video and audio feeds, which are connected with law enforcement, remote controlled door access, two-way communication, and Group E occupancy and safe school plans. They are mandating that we meet a standard in at least one of these categories, and we meet a standard in all of these categories. There's one of our alert buttons, and so these really do a lot when we push one of these buttons. First of all, it plays that SRP message for a lockdown. Lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight. And what that message does is it gets your feet moving. It's easy to understand, and it kind of takes you out of that denial phase and moves you into action. And as the kids get more and more used to hearing this, and we practice this, they will have grown up hearing these same phrases used in the same way over and over again, and that muscle memory will serve them. It locks all of our access control doors. We have over 150 access control doors. Most of our doors are locked all of the time. If a door is unlocked during the day to allow coming in and out from recess or some kind of change like lunchtime at the high school, then those doors operate by the access control, and those doors can be immediately locked by pushing those buttons. It also sends a message out to all of our district leadership, all of our principals and directors, and then those folks can spread the message among their subordinates. We do it that way. We don't send a district-wide message because they have the benefit of some time. So if you're, say, the principal of Sunny Slope Elementary School, and you get a message that the lockdown button's been pushed at Pioneer, well, you probably have some time to wait and find out what's going on before you disseminate that out. And if it's a false alarm, then we don't really have to tell them anything. We don't spread that and have more of those crying wolf situations. And then the SROs are included in that messaging, and they can start responding, and they can also alert Rivercom. And our newest update is we've added flashing lights at the bus ramps so that the buses know, the bus drivers know to check that light as they're pulling into the ramp. If the light's flashing, then they will just move on and they won't unload kids at that school. An MOU established audio or video feed with Rivercom in 2023. We had to overcome quite a few technical issues because we have a very secure system here, computer system here, and so does Rivercom. And to be able to get that hooked up was really quite a feat. It took a lot of doing to get that done. But we finally have made it, and they have access to all of our camera systems as well as our doors. We don't collect any audio at our schools. We have the ability to on some of our cameras, but we don't turn it on. And there is no connection with Rivercom as far as audio goes. We do have, however, a great PA system in all of our classrooms, and we can call into every room in the school and there's a speaker in the center of the room. I'm not sure if there's one in here. They look like these. But anyway, they have a, oh, that's it. There's one right there. Thank you. They have a microphone in there. So when we call into the room, we can hear what's going on, and the teacher doesn't have to do anything. They can just speak back to us, and we can have a little conversation about what's going on in that room. We can also overhear anything that's going on there. We're working on also getting that so Rivercom can do the same thing to call into those rooms. We haven't quite got there yet. Again, technical difficulties. Oh, and then we have the health and safety sensors, and they, do a lot of things. And one of the things they do is give us alarms for gunshot and aggression. I used this picture because up in the side over there inside that circle, you'll see that there's some monitors up on the wall. And those are actually the monitors that Rivercom can use to look at the videos from our district. Right now they are looking at video feed from the city of Wenatchee and from the Chelan County PUD. They get a lot of different video feeds in there. They also have access to our access control doors. So they have a map system like there, and it has these little icons on there, and they can click and unlock a door. So if a police officer needs to get into the school, well, if they're a Wenatchee police officer, they have one of our fobs. But another police officer, I guess, or an ambulance or a fireman, they can call Rivercom and request that they unlock that door, and they can unlock the door. They can also unlock the door and leave it standing open for an amount of time if they wish to. And they can also unlock a door ahead of an emergency. So let's say there's an ambulance that's responding to the southeast door of the high school. Before that ambulance even arrives, they can go in and unlock that door for a few minutes so that as they're arriving, there's no delay, they can get right into the school.
I'm assuming that's just the main buildings, not like the portables. So I know we have portables in a lot of schools, so I'm assuming those are a more traditional door system.
Yes, the doors on portables have to be, because of fire code, have to be just like the doors on the exterior of the school building itself. So they're all crash bar doors.
Okay.
But we don't have access control on any of those doors. But because they're inside of the fencing, we consider them within our secure envelope.
Got it. Thanks.
We have live, interactive, two-way communication. I mentioned our large investment in radios. We have hundreds of radios. We have a very large radio system. We have 3 different repeaters, not counting the repeaters for transportation. And we have a number of different channels that are all FCC licensed. So they're not like in the public domain, they're just ours. I think if you've spent any time at Wenatchee High School, you've probably seen staff and heard them on the radio. They have a lot of them there. And then we comply with Group E occupancy. So Group E occupancy is referencing the state code, and mostly what they're talking about here is fire code. State building code was actually established in 1975. Wenatchee High School started construction in 1971. So when that was constructed, it probably complied with county or city code. I don't really know. There was international building code during that time, but it was a lot more of a kind of a mishmash back then. And So today we have this state code that everyone follows. We have a Safe Schools Plan. It had a large update in 2022, and I mean a large update. That's also when we started with the standard response protocol, which was probably the largest advance in school safety around here. Let's talk about the high school. So this is referring to fire systems, sprinklers and alarms and stuff. In the early 70s, that was really the sum of school safety. The school safety was involved back then with protests around the Vietnam War, concerns about that, and also racial integration, busing that was happening and resistance to that. Those are really the safety issues for schools at that time. Also during that time, it was very much in vogue to have what's called the open classroom construction, open classroom concept. And Wenatchee High School was built with an open classroom design. The idea behind it was to have sort of collegial, large spaces where different classes would be taught in one big open space. So a lot of those hallways that you go down now, if you go into the English wing or the social studies wing, there's a bunch of center classrooms that those hallways kind of go in a U. Well, originally that was one great big room, and all of those other rooms had movable walls so that they could open that up and make it one big teaching space. The problem with the open concept classrooms were that they ended up just being noisy and distracting, and they really didn't work. So like Wenatchee High School, most districts started to remodel those spaces extensively, and Wenatchee High School is no exception to that. The issue with those kinds of remodeling is that you start to fight the architecture. So a lot of your systems start to become more complex, and that's true of the HVAC system and the plumbing and the electrical, and also just the flow of people within the school. You sort of start changing those spaces, and the amount of people in a certain area of the school comes in excess of the design. So you get bathrooms that are overly crowded. You get hallways that are maybe pinch points that are overly crowded. All of those kinds of things really affect safety. But also the systems that we use at the high school are also impacted by that. We pretty much are in a constant state of repair and updating on our systems. Wenatchee High School is so large that we have 3 separate burglar alarm systems there, and each one of those is divided into 2 partitions. So those really amounts to 6 separate systems for our intrusion of burglary alarms. To set all of those alarms, or to undo all those alarms, you have to walk over a quarter mile through that school. The same is true of our access control, which we've just added to the, relatively recently. It still operates on 3 separate systems. No, I'm sorry, 5 separate systems, which we will be uniting into one system, we're hoping very soon. It still is able to be managed, it still works that way, but the complexity of having these different systems, anytime you add complexity to something, then you can also count on there being some issues. And then we have a very old fire system at the high school. And so we're kind of fighting with that system a little bit. It's very expensive system. It's licensed to a company called Pepco, and it costs us a lot of money for them to come in and do repairs for us, which we do. We're going to be making some improvements to those systems so that they're getting along a little bit better and they're a little more compatible. And then I guess the other issue with the high school is the number of, just the sheer volume of it and the number of exterior doors. You mentioned the portables. We have 8 portables at the high school. A couple of hundred kids at any given time out there in those portables. We have one in our emergency responses. We really have one where we exit the building. We say it's going to be safer for us to leave than to stay here. And then the rest of all of our responses, we're using the building as shelter from whatever safety issue we're dealing with. And so when you have classrooms that are outside of that main building, it adds a layer of complexity to that response. At the high school, they've changed classes every 58 minutes. So now how do we deal with that? Are we able to get the issue resolved before kids have to come out of that portable and maybe be exposed? And then other kids going back to those. So do you bring them all into the building, and now where do you put them? And as the situation progresses, it's less than ideal. And it's a little bit more difficult at the high school because of their position and the fact that you have to walk quite a ways outside. A lot of the other schools that have portables, it's just outside the door. It's really not that bad. And then there's the 111 exterior doors on the high school. Every one of those doors is a potential problem to the secure envelope of that school. Anytime you have that many doors, one of them might be open. So that's always been and will continue to be an issue there. It's just that building was built at a different age, and we're doing the best with what we have there, but it's very complex to keep a building that size and with all of those challenges doing exactly what we want it to be. So I thank you for your time. If you have any questions.
I don't have any questions, but I think, one of my biggest things is keeping our students and staff safe. Everything you just mentioned about the high school, goes to support why we need to modernize or have a new high school, with safety at the forefront. And I like how you sold that the high school was built in the 1900s. You guys picked up on that.
Well, I think that the good news here is that we made a big investment in physical safety following Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And this law that is just being enacted is really a result of that event. And so there are a lot of districts that are just now starting to make improvements that we've had in place for years. So that was a big commitment by the school board and the school district at that time, and it's put us in very good stead even today.
Well, and I know we took a little bit of heat, like saying, oh, our playgrounds now look like prison yards with the fencing around it, and the thought of parents have to be, or visitors being bussed into every building. And as a parent, knowing that these safety measures are in place as a community member, you know, I get it, but at the same time, our priority is to keep our kids safe. So thank you for the work you guys have done.
Well, I think that goes back to, you know, the analogy that I made with the bank. The bank gets their bread and butter by welcoming people inside and being a place where people feel safe. And we want that same thing with our students. It's very important to their education that they feel safe. If you don't feel safe, you cannot learn. And so it is crucial that the students feel safe in the building, and that really that the community feels safe there too. So we want to be a welcoming place. We want to be a place that feels comfortable and safe. But we also need to have some of these systems in place.
I also just want to thank you for your presentation and for continuing to highlight safety at our schools, even through the budget crises that we've been going through, that we haven't slowed down in our effort to make our buildings more safe. And I remember making some of these changes as a parent, on the parent side, and I was worried about how unapproachable the building might feel if I had to buzz in every time to see my student, and what other families might feel like that. But as you get used to it, it actually becomes more comforting to know that somebody knows I'm here. Half the time they know already, they've buzzed my kid to come to the class anyway because they see me standing outside the door. So it's, as you get used to it, I mean, no one likes change, but as you get used to it, you realize this is necessary for them. You know, I didn't feel uncomfortable, and now I would feel uncomfortable showing up to unlocked doors. And, so it's good to see these improvements, and that we're continuing to keep up and make them even better and keep our kids safe.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I think we're the same brain by the end of this. A little too far.
Tom, thank you very much. I appreciate the updates on Alyssa's Law, and happy that the school district is as far along as we are. Next up, we have Executive Director of Business and Finance, Sean Fitzgerald, who I like to say the man, the myth, the legend. He'll be sharing with us the 2025 enrollment report for the Wenatchee School District. As we listen, we will be paying attention to this report, as there are many indicators of the state of enrollment decline that have ramifications for the school district, both short-term and long-term. Thanks for being here, Sean.
Thank you, Corey.
Sean, would it be better if it was here as opposed to behind you? I know the board has access to view it on their computers.
I hope so, for able to do it on the
Can't, we can't get it there?
Okay.
Do you want to turn the podium around, Sean?
I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Jack Oriento.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. President Jackson, members of the board, Dr. Gallagher, it's good to be here tonight to present an update on our enrollment, and that provides some enrollment analysis and updated forecasting models. So a lot of familiar background slides, but just a general overview of background and funding. So our enrollment is determined by our annual average FTE, or AAFTE, and so those are the numbers that drive our funding from state apportionment, which makes up about 75% of our overall school district revenues. So from September through December, our enrollment funding is based on our budgeted amounts which I prepare and present to the board during the summer. And then in January, OSPI adjusts those numbers to our actual enrollment. And so how ABFTE is determined is we have our monthly FTE, or student full-time equivalent, and then as each month comes along, we take the average. So for example, once we have September, we use that as our count, and then October comes along, and we take the average of those two, and so on and so forth throughout the end of the school year. So historically, September is our lowest count of the year. Running Start is not operating. It doesn't start until October. And a lot of times too, students aren't, we haven't really fully captured, they haven't really shown up in that first week of school in September. However, by October, we see a lot of those students have entered the district. So historically, October is our highest monthly count. So again, students have fully shown up. Running Start has begun. And throughout the remainder of the school year, we have our highest count in October. And then gradually over the course between October and June, we see an overall kind of general decline over the period of the school year. Our focus really is on tonight is really on our TK through grade 12 numbers. Although I will be talking and discussing Running Start and Open Doors, we generally focus on TK through 12 because those numbers stay within the district. And then our Running Start and Open Doors, although we are fully funded for those programs, they are pass-through dollars. So, we get our monthly apportionment for Running Start dollars, and then we turn around and pay the invoice from Wenatchee Valley College for those students attending Running Start there. So enrollment trends and analysis. Another familiar slide is over the last couple of years, we've been identifying and following through with some of the 6 overall enrollment trends we've been seeing both historically and actually occurring within the district right now. So our first one is birth rates in kindergarten. We see a general correlation between births in the district area and our incoming kindergarten classes. So higher birth rates correlate to higher kindergarten classes and vice versa. A second enrollment trend we see is also at our first grade, from the transition from kindergarten to first grade. So what we're seeing there is although we have maybe smaller kindergarten classes, we see a lot of students who come into the district at first grade, and we see over time that is a recurring trend in our data. Third bullet point is then the transition from the elementary to the middle school level. So from our 5th to 6th grade, we're seeing an overall general decline year after year. And there we're kind of focusing on the impact of Pinnacles Prep, our charter school in the area, and also kind of options with increasing private school options as well. But the greatest impact is really coming from Pinnacles Prep. And then we see that trend reverse at the 9th grade level. So from 8th grade to 9th grade, we're seeing an increase in enrollment year after year. We're seeing a lot of students either returning from Pinnacles Prep, or we're getting a lot of students coming in from the private schools. So again, there are not a lot of high school alternatives in the area, so students are coming in at the 9th grade level. Our 5th point is the impact of Running Start. So our students have the options to enroll in the college's Running Start program beginning their junior year. So our junior and senior years, we see students attending courses over at the college. And so we consistently see the impact from 10th to 11th grade. We generally see a decline in our enrollment at that level as students are enrolling in the college programs. And then our 6th and final trend that we've seen is graduating classes are larger than incoming classes. So this ties back to our first point with the lower birth rates. And we see as lower birth rates move through the system, they are replacing the larger classes that are exiting our system. So we have this overall long-term impact of enrollment decline just because incoming classes are not making up what is actually exiting the system. All right, so to jump in with birth rates in kindergarten, so we can see here on the graph, birth rates, we have our top line, county birth rates, and the bottom line is our district birth rates. So everything that's occurring in the district area, so it's like 600, if we go to 2014, we have 634 births in the district area, 935 in the county. So of those 935 births in the county, we have 634 occurring in the school district area. And so we can see here, just based on the data, the district birth rates are peaking in 2014. County birth rates are peaking in 2015. And overall, starting whether we go to 2014 or 2015, there's a general overall decline of birth rates throughout the trending data. We have some peaks there in 2019. The birth rates spike up in 2019 before we have a large decline in 2020, about 71 births in the district area. So in 2020, it's those bullet points are highlighted green. So when we're projecting our incoming kindergarten classes, we use basically the birth year plus 5. So a student born in 2020 is likely to be in our 2025-2026 kindergarten class. So we can see here, and I'll have more additional details on the next couple of slides, but that impact of a decline of 71 births is going to have an impact on our current year incoming kindergarten class. And so we can see over the next couple of years, although it's not as dramatic as decline as we've experienced in the last year, we know birth rates are going to continue to decline for the next couple of years after that. And then we have our most recent birth rate data in 2024. We see an increase of over 50 births between 2023 and 2024. So again, that's more promising. It's great to see that we've kind of bottomed out, and we're hoping that would be a continuing trend for the foreseeable future. But our 2024 data, that's our most recent up-to-date data that we have at this time from the Department of Health. So if we go to this next slide, then we can see really the correlation between the birth rates and our incoming kindergarten classes. And so as we can see here, we're in the 25-26 school year, and because of that decline in the birth rates of 71 births in 2019, we're seeing about 54 less students in our current kindergarten class. So right now we have roughly about 380 FTE. That includes both our basic ed and our alternative learning at Valley. So right now this is our smallest kindergarten class to date, at least going back in the last 10 years or so, as much as the data shows. And our expectation with continuing declining birth rates for the next couple of years, our expectation is that's going to continue to decline about an additional 15 to 20 FTE before we see a rebound in 2029-30 with the increased birth rates from 2024. Moving on, another area of focus, not only birth rates we're looking at, but also capture rates in the area. And one of the things is we're kind of going back and looking at historically of the births that are occurring in the district area, how many are coming into our incoming kindergarten classes. And so both for the current year and the 24-25 school year, we're roughly about 76%. So we can see that's been declining. It's been some fluctuations. I mean, 2020-21 was 70%, but we can attribute that to COVID and the pandemic lockdowns. But coming out of once the lockdowns were lifted, we did see about capture rates above 80%. However, now we're kind of operating at 76%. And so I've kind of forecasted out over the next 4 years, kind of keeping just, being in our realm of conservative projections, operating under the assumption that we would keep with the 76% capture rate. Some of the discussions we've had about lower capture rates, not only in these board meetings we've had here, but also in the budget committees and our restructuring committees, and kind of brainstorming some of the ideas for why this is occurring. And some of the feedback we've been getting a lot is just the options available for parents in their kindergarten options in the area. rates decrease of 71 births from 2019 to 2020 has resulted in about 54 less kindergartners attending the area in our district. We also have a lower capture rate of about 76%. And we're unlikely to see an increase in our kindergarten classes until 2029-30. And we're kind of operating under, based on our current projections, operating under continuing projection of sub 400 FTE kindergarten classes for the foreseeable future. And again, as I get into the future slides, I'm just addressing the long-term impact as, again, smaller incoming kindergarten classes are replacing our larger graduating classes. And as that moves through the system, that's going to have an overall long-term impact on enrollment decline and enrollment, enrollment stability, as we'll get into further detail in future slides. Before I move on to the second point, any questions on birth rates?
I mean, hate to say, just can we look at Douglas County just as they're across the river? You know, is there a way that we can kind of just see as the larger area? You know, it feels like we're growing, and I know that we're getting a lot of like an older crowd in Wenatchee, and there's kind of some younger people across the river. You know, at some point, and just being aware of, are there more kids in the area that we could potentially draw in with available programming or other opportunities? Just, you know, that'd be a nice thing to just keep an eye on.
Certainly, yeah. So moving on to kindergarten to first grade, so we can see our data, with the exception of 2020 and 21, we've had consistent growth and an increase in kindergarten and first grade. So a lot of students that are not entering in at kindergarten level are coming into the district at the first grade level. And we can likely attribute the anomaly in 2020 and 21 again to COVID, but we can see an overall trend of increasing enrollment between kindergarten and first grade. And then just comparison of capture rates. We can see kindergarten comparison, that's 76% of those births we're capturing at the kindergarten, and that generally increases up to about 3 to 4% when we're looking at our first grader data. So we can see here for 25, 26, an increase of 3%. Again, 22, 23 was less than 3%, but again, coming out of the COVID lockdowns probably explains the anomaly in that data, as we've seen probably an increase, at least of 3% increase in capture rate between those grade levels. Elementary into middle school, as discussed earlier, we're seeing the impact mostly at Pinnacles Prep, but also expanding private school options in the area. So we can see starting out, again, 2020, 21, 21, 22, a lot of that could be explained, again, COVID lockdowns, but we know that Pinnacles Prep opened in 2021-22 school year and gradually expanding grade levels year after year. And so we can see 22, 23 and beyond, 47, 30, 20. This year we see a decline of about 36. So again, just those other options in the area that students and parents are taking advantage of that are being offered in the Valley. And then we would see the reverse as we go from 8th to 9th grade. So again, middle to high school, we're seeing an increase in returning students, especially the last couple of years. Again, high school has a lot of options, a lot of programs and opportunities that are not offered elsewhere in the Valley, and students and parents are taking advantage of it. And then again, running start in high school. So last year we saw a record high running start enrollment. I think if I pull up my October numbers, it'd probably be around 350 FTE last year at this time. And it finished around 334 for the average for the entire year. So right now we're starting at the decrease so we lost about 127 students. Right now, I think there's about 270 enrolled in October, our October Running Start count. So to see about a big, large decrease in Running Start enrollment suggests that students are staying within the area, or within the district, I mean. And again, can also be attributed to proportionality. Again, we had a very large 10th to 11th grade class last year, and slightly smaller class this year, but overall we're seeing it, again, that drop. It was about 127 difference last year in that cohort. Here it's only about 87, and much lower, kind of more return to historical numbers. And generally the October count, so we're looking at about 270 at Running Start. It generally declines over the remainder of the school year, although February with the start of the second semester generally sees a spike. The overall average tends to decrease, not increase. So we'll be paying close attention to those numbers. And again, we're looking at the work that's been done at the high school level with the accelerated pathways and the college credit that has been offered in the high school. We're kind of attributing as a positive factor for this. Then we're looking at graduating classes versus incoming classes. Again, there's always been a negative change going back to 2015-16, but we can see in the last couple of years, again, some of those gaps have widened into the triple digits. 24-25, we had a smaller 12th grade class moving through. However, I think 25, 26 and beyond, we're going to see that kind of gap widen. Again, as smaller, we're seeing historically small kindergarten classes move through enter into our system, and then continue to move through, those kindergartners over the next 13 years. So here we have a comparison of enrollment versus current versus prior year. And what we can see here, things that just jump out. So again, if we go down to the bottom, total K through 12, we're looking at overall right now decrease of 86 FTE compared to prior year. When you take in the total enrollment, we add in Running Start, Open Doors, it's about 154. But again, less students. That bottom line data is a little bit misleading because less students at Running Start. There's a correlation to more students in the top line. So they're staying within the district. So they're being counted in their 11th and 12th grade levels as opposed to the Running Start amount. Again, we can see the impact at the kindergarten, lower birth rates, decrease of 54. And then as we kind of go through the grade levels, we can see decline, second and third, and then, consistent decline at the middle school level. Again, what we're seeing there, again, is larger classes moving through the system are being replaced. The next in line is a smaller class. So as they move through, our expectation is, that trend is going to continue. And then, again, as we can see here, like 24, 25, 25, 20, just the comparison at the third and the fourth grade level, we see an increase of 21 students at the fourth grade level. But again, our current fourth graders, that's our largest elementary class above 500 FTE. And what's following right behind them, much lower. The third graders that are following suit are at 471. So we can just see as the cohorts move through, how that is factoring in as with the smaller classes. Then we have a comparison of our enrollment between current and prior year. You can see up top, like a massive decrease in Lincoln Elementary of 72 students. And so, but to explain that data, we have to realize that Lincoln took on a lot of students from Columbia last year. They took on an extra 5th grade band, and so those students have moved on to middle school. So we can see there, that can attribute the large decrease at Lincoln. But we can also see some of our successes. Again, increases at Wenatchee High School, increase of 37 students, again, students returning to the district at the 9th grade level. We also see an increase of 77 FTE at Valley Academy. So moving Valley Academy into its new location and expanding into 9th and 10th grade. we're seeing the benefits there. So students that would normally got to chosen other options or stayed at home school have opted to enroll in Valley Academy.
Sean, do we have any classes at the elementary level that are still in overload? I know that was kind of a concern going from that transition of from Columbia to just the 6 elementary schools. Do you know if we have any currently?
I don't have that information.
Okay.
Right, we can get that. We do have some classrooms in overload, but we can get you the specifics maybe by Friday. Sure. Good, okay.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
And then again, kind of a summary, this is our grade band comparison, just kind of a summary of all kind of the previous data. You can really see the enrollment trend data jump out. So again, you can see the increase from kindergarten to first grade, so prior year 435. So current year, those first graders are now 461, so we're seeing an increase of 25. Then you can see the impact of charter and private schools from 5th to 6th grade, with a decrease of 36, and then we get to 8th to 9th grade, the increase of 52, and then we see that impact from 10th to 11th grade, the decrease of about 87 or so FTE, showing that impact of Running Start. So forecasting. Before I move on, any questions on the enrollment trends so far?
You make them look better? Yeah.
So kind of updated the forecasting numbers from the numbers I presented both in June and August during the budget presentations. But some things we're seeing is, again, at the kindergarten level, we're seeing those low capture and low birth rates, keeping our kindergarten classes below 400 for the foreseeable future. So even with the increased birth rates for 2029-30, we're still projecting to be under 400 with the data and forecasting methodology we have right now. And then other things we're tracking, also highlighted in green, is really paying attention to all of our 500 plus classes. So as I mentioned earlier, our 4th graders for 25-26 are our largest elementary class, so they got 1 more year in our elementary class next year. And then if we follow our enrollment trends and analysis, we're going to see a decrease of that as they hit the middle school level. And we see, again, the impact of alternative education choices in the area. And then, again, another thing we're looking through is between 7th and 12th grade, a lot of these 500 plus classes, our larger classes, are going to be leaving the system. And again, it goes back to that long-term impact of these 500 plus classes are going to be moving out of our system, whether they start in 11th grade and the impact of Running Start or eventually graduate. And our expectation is that if we follow just this trending modeling, that our 500 plus classes will probably disappear by 2028-29. And based on taking into account the next 5 years, we're looking at this overall enrollment decline just over the next 5 years, and following just the trends we have and the methodology we're using. I mean, we're looking at over a decline of about 880 students over the next 5 years, including this current school year. Here's breaking down the data and seeing where the impact is at the elementary, middle, and high school level. So if we're tracking over the next 5 years, we're looking at a decline of about almost 440 FTE at the elementary level, so that's TK through 5th grade. And then about roughly 140 at the high school level, so grades 6 through 8. And then finally, over 300 FTE at the high school level, grades 9 through 12. So here's kind of our putting everything into perspective, both historical and then the next 5 years. So you can see our enrollment peaked in 2015-16, and we're currently at the 25-26 school year there. So we've seen about roughly a 1,200 FTE decrease since our peak enrollment in and then projecting out the next 5 years, or next 4 years, excuse me, because we have the birth rate data available, using that as a basis, we're just projecting continued enrollment decline.
This might also not be a question for you, maybe it's for you, Corey, but like, I know that as we talk about the bond and a new high school, the student population of, like, we are unable to build a building larger than our student population. Do you know when that calculation kicks in, knowing that we're looking at a small, declining enrollment, but we talk about there's a bottom of the J, hopefully, like based on the birth rates at one of those previous things. So, you don't want to like build for the bottom.
Correct.
But I don't know what year do we have to take that number as we look at the kind of the build capacity?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that we want to make sure that we dive into. And what we want to keep in mind is that we're building, with the bond, we're building a new high school for the next 50 years, and make sure that we can't predict exactly what's going to happen over those years, but make sure that we have a building that is big enough for the student capacity that we have now over the next few years or decade that we can really project out, but also what's going to happen, when we think of 2075, which is a long ways away and hard to predict, but we want to make sure that we're in that spot. So I'll work with David from Turner Townsend to see when that time actually is that here's our student population, here's what we're going to go out to build. Good question. Thanks.
So taking this data, and actually it's a good segue from what Tucker's question is, if we're projecting our data, how far can we go out? Because we have our birth rates, and that's the usual kind of our basis for our methodology, because we can build our kindergarten classes on that. But if we wanted to build out some models and go further about asking ourselves, okay, if we have increased birth rates in 2029-30, but also we have smaller classes replacing our incoming, our graduating classes, how is that going to affect, and how is that going to impact our long-term forecasting as those smaller numbers move through our system and replace our larger graduating classes? So following our kind of current methodology and projecting it out, we've kind of built out a kind of 15-year trend just using our current modeling. So assuming, so we have our current enrollment for 25, 26, and we've built out to 29, 30 using our birth rate data we have. If we were to assume that we had just stable 400 FTE kindergarten classes year after year, we're not bothering about birth rates, we're not bothering about capture rates, it's just we're assuming in this modeling that we have a stable 400 FTE in our kindergarten class, what would be the impact as that moves through our system, and where we would see enrollment decline cease and might see a turnaround in an increase in enrollment. So just based on this model, we would be looking at a consistent overall enrollment decline until about the 2037-38 school year, based on those assumptions.
And Sean, it's a stark and staggering line there that we see, but I think the importance for us to think about is what this means overall to our school district. And as we look at the way that we have been moving through budget reductions, we've taken it kind of year by year on what we need to do, but we need to think more holistically, because if you look at us continuing to do $2.5 million a year, $3.5 million a year in budget reductions, we're not going to be able to keep up with the pace of that enrollment decline in our fund balance. And so we want to make sure that we have that idea in front of us, and we'll be coming back in the next couple months when we talk about specific budget reduction conversations for the school district. It will be very important for us to highlight this information as we have it. The nice thing is that we see some hope at some point, but we have to get to that spot where our system is adjusted to what the new normal could potentially be. So, thanks, Sean.
Well, then I would add and figure out ways that we can make that the bottom of that J not quite so
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, none of this forecasting is set, but if we do follow our current trends, this is a very plausible scenario. District planning. So in light of this and looking at our enrollment trends, what actions or discussions are taking place at the district level, and some of the things in the last couple of years that we've done. So first of all, again, taking advantage and expanding our TK program. Again, that came in, I believe, right after COVID with one classroom, and then we did 2 years ago. We expanded from, or last year we expanded from 3 to 4 classrooms. So now we have about 58 students currently enrolled in our TK program. But the unfortunate part of TK is, although there is a demand for TK, and that students that go through the TK program, you see the benefits of the program, the legislature has capped our enrollment at our 23-24 level. So the maximum number of students we could have in there is 59. And then one of the things we always pay close attention to with our legislatures is that there are some in Olympia that are just not a fan of TK. And so one of the things was we always have to pay attention. Come January, what is the mood of Olympia when it comes to funding our TK program? Another action that I've discussed earlier is, again, the Valley expansion, moving the Valley Academy program into the former Columbia Elementary and then expanding to 9th and 10th grade. And we've seen the benefits of there with an increase of 77 students compared to prior year. And then again, the high school accelerated pathways I touched on earlier, seeing the impact of students staying within the district and obtaining college credit and those opportunities within the district and not at the running start at the college level. And then,
Can I jump in real quick?
go ahead.
My understanding, Valley, we still have open classrooms there. Is that right?
There is one classroom that currently has curriculum, and then we have the 2 portables as well.
Okay. So there's potential for expansion there if there's interest.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Room for growth, yes.
Yeah.
Annual planning. So again, when we're looking at our capture rates, it's like we see those lower, decreasing capture rates at the kindergarten level, but then we see that jump year after year at the first grade. So what is the district offering at the first grade level that we're not offering at kindergartens? Is there something that the opportunities at the kindergarten level is something we're not providing? Is it a matter of convenience? It's like, hey, I just prefer this kindergarten program, and then I'll get my kids into first grade. Again, that's something we can look into because we do see that consistent jump year after year at that level. And then also, again, our long-term planning. Going back to Tucker, what you mentioned, again, there's room for continued growth at Valley and other areas where we can continue to expand and take advantage of opportunity within the district. So we have taken steps in the last couple of years. We've seen positive impact across multiple levels across the district, and we're continuing to look at those this year.
And is the restructuring committee starting up again? I mean, I'm assuming that's part of the long-term planning.
Yeah, they started last night. They had their first meeting yesterday, and we went over this document. They had a little preview before we were able to show it tonight, but had some great conversations, and we'll have future conversations about what are some possibilities. And I think the goal and this was the goal last year too, but how do you look at budget reduction in 2 different ways? One, reducing the budget where you have places to do so, but also, just like we did for this year, working on ways that there are expansion opportunities in the Wenatchee Valley that people are excited about, such as Valley, and then the accelerated pathways opportunities. How can we be flexible in our system and really create a program for today's students that attracts people from other places? And so what we'll be working on this year is not only the budget reduction piece, but what are our nuggets for growth next year? What's our value for next year in a larger capacity? So we'll be coming back with more of those ideas and that planning in the future.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do actually, Sean, and I realized that going through this that I didn't do my homework in terms of going backwards and looking at previous information. The one thing I wanted to say is, as you build up more years, the nature of the historical information and the projections is one that looks reliable, and I'm pleased to see it, and it inspires a certain amount of trust. And I guess my specific question is, am I right or wrong in thinking that there's one more birth year in this set of data than you had in August?
I was able to add this 2024 in the August presentation.
Oh, you did get it in at the last
Yes. I would say the difference between the August data and our updated data, one, not only we have the October, our actual enrollment, but also adjusting the capture rates.
Okay.
My assumptions, I think it was operating under, again, kind of more of a historical assumption of around 79 to 80%, but unfortunately, the current capture rate reflected more recent memory of 76%. So you'll see, if you look back at the prior data, a decrease at the kindergarten levels of those projections.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you are working with a rolling projection, and I've got a couple of questions as to how that gets refreshed.
Sure.
I'm going to make a comment. It's really important, I think, to hear that the district needs to look not 1 year ahead, but several years ahead. And that's very challenging to do, but it's very necessary. And the more signaling and warning that we can do that so that it can be done well is really important. But other questions as to how this rolls, because my one question is, if it's slightly different from August to October, you expect them to be different as you renew them. Now, we were going to do regular demographic study renewals. When do we get the next demographic from Davis?
So they've reached out, they've already started working, and so their expectation is kind of a similar timeline to last year. RSV is coming, hoping to come back on site and present either in February or March.
Okay, no, that's great. And that really, I'm going to sort of answer my own questions a little bit. I'm expecting that there's no substantial change between, I can't remember the number of the report that we sent with the 4-year projection to Olympia, but they're constantly renewing. You talk about the capture rate, which I think is a step forward in precision and accuracy. We do have demographic data coming in. So this will be a continual process in the short term. It's really important that you have a good system and the district is alert. And then on top of that, in the short term, keep monitoring it and making sure we're on top of it, because it will get changed 2 or 3 times a year.
Yep.
And should. But then we've got to look several years ahead in reality. And I just wanted to say that I think that looks to be what I think I'm hearing as to how the position is, how to tackle the problem, and I think it makes sense.
Absolutely, thank you.
Sean, is anyone at the district or statewide talking about like some frustration at in Olympia with the TK program in general? Like, it seems like this has been a really great program, and we're seeing some success from those students, certainly at least as role models in kindergarten classes. Is anyone tracking information that we can start to build a case for why these students are so important?
I can inquire. I mean, I know it's just, I can personally speak, just following the discussions and the updates I get. I don't know, I'm similarly blanking on his name, but he provides an excellent weekly update about the importance of TK, and he's with WASA. He's kind of the overall lobbyist for WASA, and he is a big advocate for the TK program. But I think, when we're discussing politics in Olympia, there are some legislatures that favor different pre-kindergarten models like ECAP over TK. And another concern is, the state, and I'm not speaking with any sorts of information, but when we're looking at, again, January, Olympia signaled another budget shortfall, and one of the concerns is, one of the things I pay attention to is just the language that they're putting in the bills. And one of the things is, in order for Olympia, in order for the state to comply with the McCleary decision, they've been charged by the Washington Supreme Court in order to fulfill their constitutional duties is basic education, to fully fund basic education. So anything that falls outside of that realm is not basic education, and they can take a look at it. One of the things the legislature has done in the last couple of years is make sure that transitional kindergarten does not fall under the basic education umbrella. So anytime I see that, it's like, oh, you're not part of the basic education umbrella. It's kind of like I kind of circled that as a program that they might take a closer look at when they're crafting their future budgets.
That was a good point, Tucker, because after our TK presentation, we talked about making sure that we are looking at that longitudinal data for those students as well, because we know that they've gotten that that extra year in public education that helps prepare them so well. And I looked it up, and it was Dan Steele for WASA.
Thank you. Yes, Dan.
This weekend, Olivia or whatever.
Yep.
It's great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sean. Okay, moving right along here in the agenda as Tucker and I are having too much fun. We move on to discussion. We have a policy that we tabled at our last board meeting on October 14th because the version in the packet was not the updated version that the policy committee worked on and approved. And so we were able to put that into this week's board packet. So you've been able to take a look at that. I hope that this version feels like it accurately reflects and portrays what the wishes of the board are, even in the absence of policy 1825. But yeah, any thoughts or comments to share? Okay, well, we'll move that one on to second read at our November 12th board meeting and move into some action. President Tucker, President Jackson. Tucker Jackson.
President.
Oh man, it's the worst. You should try these.
No, I had to fit the persona in there, just too much magnification.
It's tough to fit these.
Yeah, I'm not blind enough for those. Sorry, so back to focusing on this board meeting. We talked about the LCAP and the OSSI stuff with Tim last meeting. Are you guys, I would say, do we have a motion to approve these plans as they were
Move to approve
written?
the LCAP plan
And
as
OSSI?
presented.
I will second that motion.
All right, moved by Julie and seconded by Martin. Any discussion?
I do want to add a comment because I think it's important that we did this in 2 steps. And I looked at my notes from last time. I said it's really important that the board be well informed and have commitment behind it. And I think there were some substantially encouraging changes and improvements compared to the previous generation of plans. It's an ongoing job, but I thought I did not have anything that I learned since last presentation, except that I did have the time to think about it, and I think it's important to do that and to stress that this is serious, this is a real commitment, and that's it.
And I appreciate Tim coming out and giving the presentation, answering questions. I think it was, like Martin, you said, it was really important information. All right, so all in favor of approving the resolution? Say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And now we do the second read on policies 5260 and 1111. Do I have a motion to approve the second read of these policies?
I'll move to approve policies number 5260 and 1111 for approval.
Second.
All right, that's a move by Maria and seconded by Julie. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye, and
All right.
if the mic on to say aye.
And motion carries. And that takes us to superintendent report.
Excellent. Just want to take a moment. There was some confusion as citizen comment was leaving. Just to clarify that our board members cannot participate in negotiations. We know that. but are able to hear citizen comment in the appropriate space here at the board meeting. And we're also able to take information through email. So I just want to clarify that. There was a lot of moving parts happening there. And so I'm trying to talk to Kelly over a crowd moving and so just want to clarify that. So thank you for that. Just want to share, we heard a little bit about homecoming earlier today. The last home football game of the year was last Friday. Due to smoke, it was only the second game we were able to play in the Apple Bowl this year, unfortunately. But it had everything. So if you were there, you saw senior night, you saw the cheerleaders, you saw the Applettes, you saw the color guard. We had middle school students that were shadowing the Golden Apple Band, which was super fun. And then of course we had the homecoming royalty is there. The scoreboard wasn't exactly maybe what you wanted to see, but it was a great evening, so that was excellent. I'll let Martin share potentially a little bit about what we saw today, but I just have to mention that we saw the first graduation held in juvenile detention court today. We had a student that was in the Juvenile Detention Center program over the course of the last 2 years that earned 20 additional credits to graduate from Westside High School. And Martin and I were invited to see that this afternoon, so that was pretty darn special. Also, we have conferences this week, so today was the last day of school for this week, which is wild. But we're thrilled to host parent-teacher conferences over the next few days and invite our families into the schools to work collaboratively with our educators. We've strategically placed conferences to be far enough into the school year that we feel like we're past kind of the honeymoon phase. We're able to see some patterns in student achievement and behavior prior to them becoming habits that are more challenging to break. So this is also one of our strongest tools for open communication with our families and to support students academically, socially, and emotionally. We also know that before our next board meeting, we have Stuff the Bus food drive. So our school resource officers will be at Wenatchee Walmart with one of our yellow school buses on November 7th from 10 to 2 in the annual Stuff the Bus food drive. And the drive collects non-perishable foods for Operation Turkey Drop, an event that prepares holiday food boxes for distribution to district families in need. So we thank our SROs, Fuller, and who is one of the coordinators, and he also coordinates Shop with a Cop event as well with our elementary schools in December. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, Martin, he already teed you up, so I'll let you start.
No, Corey, I wasn't going to say anything about this afternoon, but I'm going to add something because I think, as you say, it was a historic event. The things that made it most special were the effort, dedication, and turnaround of the student who graduated. Very, very impressive. But then I want to talk about the support network that was run. Somebody, it wasn't any of us, said to me, you won't see this kind of network around a juvenile detention center very often. So I think we should give some kudos to the community here. Because you were in a courtroom, you still had full security around you, very evident. You were in a detention center. But other than, so you had Westside teachers, Westside counselors, the teacher who has for many years taught the students in the juvenile detention center. I've been able to see what it looks like and how active it is. Yeah, yeah. So you had that, and then then I think the staff themselves were there in force and very, very supportive, as you know that, Maria. But then let's talk about us. There were 2 staff from the NCW Library Service, and they run an outreach library program of education and there, and they were obviously quite emotional about it. You had cafe there. You had chaplains there. I'm not quite sure what renovation is, but it was another kind of recovery organization.
Rejuvenation.
Yeah, unit. And so you saw probably 15 support people for this event in that one room. And yes, Corey, it was worth making some noise about it. And then I've got another one quickly. I was at Foothills Avid Night. It was super impressive. And what I was going to do about this was their little handout as you went around. And halfway through I said, I've got to write down the first words that come to my brain when I look at these Avid presentations. And this is just stream of consciousness. I wrote down confidence, initiative, fluency, purposeful, prepared, teamwork, career aware, and then a little one that was very interesting. Sometimes you got to see two groups of avid students, and there'd be about 5 of them, 7 of them maybe, doing the same presentation one after the other. Each one was different and unique. They were, and oh, I forgot, I was told that their avid teacher had been absent unfortunately for a while, and a lot of this they've done by themselves. So that was a really impressive presentation of avid in the middle school, the extension of those kind of skills, lifetime skills, into the middle school, and obviously in the avid program in the high school. Oh, and they had high school mentors in there helping them.
Thanks, Martin. Where do you want to take over?
Sure.
Hot mic already.
Thank you, Martin. I don't have much other than, if you guys recall last year, Miranda served on the legislative committee, and there was a push, well, not Miranda specifically, but there was a push from WASDA to present a bill about simple majority for school bonds. WASDA is pushing that once again, and just kind of want to put it on your guys' radar. You can send Corey, Kim, and I an email whether this is something you want to support individually or as a school board if we have consensus. As for our audience, currently bonds are supermajority, which means 60%. Is it 60% plus 1 or 60%? Simple majority would bring it down to 50% plus 1. Sorry? Okay. I gotta get the 1 there. So anyways, you know, the current state of the state is that bonds are really not passing under that supermajority percentage. So just put it on the radar, and hopefully we can all agree that, you know, there's a huge need to push this.
Thanks, Fran. Julia?
I don't have much, but I just want to say thank you for accommodating my schedule the last couple meetings as I followed my senior athlete around the district for her last couple soccer games. There is one more at the Apple Bowl tomorrow night. It'll be the senior night, so they're playing Eastmont if anyone's looking for anything to do. And I just, again, want to appreciate the work that our athletic and activities department has done this fall to make sure games were able to be played. Sort of the benefit of the smoke, I think, for the soccer kids, because we play each school twice, we were able to flip some of our home and away games. So now they've finished the season mostly at home. It's too bad it didn't work out quite as well for football, but at least they did what they could to get all the games in, and I'm super impressed with the new AD hitting the ground running and even announcing some games on her own, and just really, really going above and beyond for the students and families. So it's been a very successful, I think, fall, and so hope to see you all out there for Eastmont tomorrow.
Thank you. I was also at the game on Friday, and I will say there was a lot of cheer despite the rain. It was a pretty miserable weather and a tough game, but like the student support, like Corey said, all the programs that participated. I had a middle school band person who was appreciated having the opportunity to be on the field with the band and have like, you know, kind of that mentor experience. So I think it was a real positive experience, aside from the score. But but yeah, happy past homecoming for everyone, and soccer game tomorrow. And with that,